I want the truth!
Time for true.
I know it's a weird thought, but it's true.
Or false.
No, that's just flat out false.
On the Jake Asman Show.
Here we go. It is time for America's favorite segment that happens at this time every Saturday on Sports Map Radio. Very specific, but it's true. If you're new to the show, True or False is a segment we do every week. Sean Mapes, my esteemed producer, puts together a bunch of true or false questions, some about sports, some not about sports. We go back and forth and we knock them out. Sean, without further ado, kick things off for us here on a Saturday.
So, true or false, Russell Wilson will be traded to the Chicago Bears?
False. Russell Wilson will not be traded to the Chicago Bears. I hope he does get traded to the Chicago Bears, and I'll tell you why. As a Jets fan, I would love for that first round pick that the Jets have next year from the Jamal Adams trade skyrockets in value, because without Russell Wilson, Seattle's probably one of the 5 worst teams in the NFL, around there certainly. But I would love to see him go to Chicago, but I don't know if the Bears have enough to get it done. I mean, if they're willing to offer 5 first-round picks, I think if you're the Bears, if you're a Bear fan, you probably want them to do it because you just have never had a quarterback, and you're like, I don't really care about the draft picks. We're not going to win anyway if we don't have a franchise quarterback. Let's do it. But I don't know if the Bears would do it, and I also don't know if Seattle would do it. Maybe they think that their best option, if they're going to have to trade Russ at some point, would be to a team where they could get a young quarterback back, or they could get, a higher draft pick in this year's first round so they could take somebody. I don't know, but the writing seems to be on the wall that Russ is so unhappy with Seattle that if a trade doesn't happen this offseason, it could happen next offseason. I just don't know if the Bears have enough to get a deal done. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Russell Wilson in Chicago. I love the Bears. I love that city. Bears fans are great. I just don't know if they have enough to pull off that type of deal with the Seattle Seahawks. So I say false.
So I go true, partly because I want it to happen, partly because I did see somewhere that some Vegas books had taken the Chicago Bears as a Russell Wilson destination off their board. And apparently they did the same thing with the Carson Wentz and the Colts about a week before he got traded. So I don't know if that's just smoke or fire, but I go true just because I want it to happen.
You want it to happen.
And who deserves it more than Chicago Bears
Look,
fans?
I would argue Jet fans deserve it as far as having a franchise quarterback. We have not had one since Joe Namath. At least the Bears had Jim McMahon. They won a Super Bowl.
Yeah.
But no, I do love Bears fans. They've had to be tortured by the Packers with Brett Favre and Aaron Rodgers. And obviously they've been good. They've been knocking on the door. But I don't need to tell Bears fans this. You've never had a quarterback that's had 4,000 yards and 30 touchdowns in a single season in the NFL, where it's all about offense now. So, yes, I would love to see him go to the Bears. I don't know if they have enough, though. I think Seattle, if they're going to move him, there'd be other teams that could offer more, where Seattle would trade him to that team over the Chicago Bears.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to monitor and see how that plays out. True or false, Cam Newton will finish the 2021 season as the Patriots starter?
False. He better not. I think he doesn't, because he's either going to get hurt or he's benched because they're drafting a quarterback in the first round. I'll continue to say it. Cam Newton back on a 1-year deal for $5 million guaranteed. Not bad if he's your bridge quarterback. But if he's starting by the end of the season, unless the Pats are just amazing, which we all don't see that is realistic right now, there's no way that could be allowed. So you can't have Cam finish the year. You could have him start the year, but by the end of the year, Mac Jones, Trey Lance, Justin Fields, so whoever they draft has to be the guy by the end of the year.
Kellen Mond, Sam Ehlinger, maybe.
Oh, Kellen Mond, Sam Ehlinger. By the way, it seems like Kellen Mond's moving up in draft boards. I don't see it, man. I watched a lot of A&M. Kellen Mond to me is a mid-round quarterback.
Yeah,
prospect.
he didn't seem like a very good college quarterback at the time. And yeah, I don't understand that. But as far as Cam Newton goes, I didn't take injury into account, and with someone like Cam Newton, you kind of have to. So I guess I will go false as well, just because I can't see him making it through the 16 games. I think Bill Belichick, if they draft a quarterback, will want to do the red shirt model, but that always everyone wants to let them sit a year, and they end up coming before the bye week.
It always happens. Oh, we want to let him sit and learn, and then it's like, well, actually, no, we want to play the young guy because our jobs are on the line.
Yeah,
not saying Belichick's job would be on the line, but they draft the quarterback high, he's going to see time.
There's external pressures. True or false? You agree with Jerry Jones that Dak won the contract negotiation?
Oh, true. Jerry, you got slaughtered here, man. I mean, if you signed Dak years ago, you would have had him for a much cheaper price. I get it. The Cowboys had no choice, though. The cap's going down by 8%. Teams plan for the cap to go up by $10 million. So it's about a $28 million difference in what teams were expecting. And the Cowboys have all these holes, and they're a win-now team, and you couldn't afford to franchise tag your quarterback and pay him $37 million directly against the cap. By signing him, you lower his salary cap hit to around $22 million, which saves Dallas $15 million. So they didn't have a choice. Jerry knew he had to overpay. Is Dak the second best quarterback in the NFL? No, but how it works in football is the next guy up gets paid. So Dak got his, and guess what? In a couple of years, his contract will probably be a bargain if he continues to play out as he's played so far.
Exactly. And with the new TV money coming in, and Jerry's on the TV committee for the NFL owners, so he knows how that accounting is going to go. I agree with you. I think also the no trade clause and the no tag clause are really big for Dak Prescott. That means after 4 years when his contract expires, he can't get franchise tag. So he can just go into free agency again and get super paid.
True or false? You rather have Dak's contract over Mahomes' contract?
If I'm the quarterback?
Yeah, if you're a star NFL quarterback, which deal would you rather be signed to?
Dak's contract.
I say same thing. I asked a former NFL GM, Randy Mueller, on my weekday show here on Sports Map Radio, that same question. And he said, without question, it's Dak. Because Dak can't be tagged. You know, he can't be traded, full no trade. And as the cap continues to rise, he can keep renegotiating to get more and more money, whereas Mahomes is locked in. So I rather be Dak over Mahomes as far as the contract.
And even, I mean, we saw it with Dak Prescott, this situation, even if he gets catastrophically injured, teams are still going to pay him.
Yep. I mean, quarterback, man, there's just not enough good ones. Teams overpay.
So true or false, the salary cap dropping this year will, in the NFL, will actually help contending teams like the Chiefs and Bucks?
No, false. I don't think there's any real tangible like impact there. I think every team's affected. I believe the teams that have the most money this year maybe benefit in more so this year than in previous years because of all the the influx of good players being cut by teams due to cap reasons. But I think for the most part, the good teams are going to be the teams that figure out how to find value signings and draft well and make smart trades. So I don't think there's that much tangible impact on those particular teams.
So I think true, and I think it's because once we get past right now, we're seeing everyone get cut off the teams, but once we see all these guys are going to have to settle for 1 year prove-it deals, I mean, would you rather go for a 1 year deal with the Chiefs or with Team X that's not the Chiefs or the Bucks? I think they can end up getting a lot of the kind of ring chasing kind of veteran players on very cheap deals.
I see the Bucks as that team because that's what New England was with Brady for years. So yes, that's actually a fair point. Okay.
Just my thoughts. Moving to the NBA, true or false, Joel Embiid's bone bruise injury, they'll have him out at least 2 weeks, hands the MVP trophy to one LeBron James.
I go false because if the Sixers struggle a bit without Embiid and then he comes back and plays well, that might be enough to still win the MVP. Now, if LeBron continues to do what he's doing and AD continues to miss as much time as he's missing, then yeah, I feel like it could tilt back towards LeBron. But I don't think this injury alone hands it to LeBron, as you asked in the question. So I say false.
Okay, I think it does because he's going to get Joel Embiid's going to get reevaluated in 2 weeks. They could reevaluate and keep him out another 2 weeks.
I will say
by that time it's basically over.
That's fair. I will say this: watching that injury last night, I thought the worst. Like when you see him land like that on his knee and the impact of his 7'2" body. Oh. I hate to say I thought ACL, MCL, I thought the worst right away.
Especially with a guy like Joel Embiid who's battled injuries for his whole career.
Exactly. That's the big thing with the Sixers, right? I was like, just give Brooklyn the Eastern title. I got worried. All
right. And true or false, the big stars for the NBA will actually play in the Tokyo Olympics this year. They just released their 60-man the opening list.
Julius Randle on that list.
Hey, big look for Julius Randle.
Let's go Knicks, baby.
Yeah.
Big win over OKC today. RJ Barrett, 32 points on 12 of 21 shooting.
Okay.
Just saying.
Yeah, no Jayshawn Tate or Christian Wood actually snuck in for the Rockets.
Ah.
There we go.
I'll say true. I don't know if you're going to get every big star, but I think there's going to be enough of the A-list caliber NBA player that still wants to go. It is the Olympics. It's 5 years since the last one, because of COVID last year canceling it. I think there's still appeal for these guys to play in the Olympics for their brands being international, getting the whole world to essentially watch you and buy your sneakers. So I think that's a big reason why these stars like to play in the Olympics. So yes, maybe you don't get LeBron if he's coming off another title.
Yeah.
But I still think you get some of the biggest stars in the NBA to go and play in the Olympics this summer.
Yeah, I say true also because it's Greg Popovich, and it might be a little bit of a Greg Popovich retirement tour. And guys, maybe not LeBron, because if he's in the finals, he's probably not going to Olympics. I don't think any team in the finals is going to send their guys to the Olympics. But the guys that just want to play for Pop, want to, send them out the right way, win gold. It's not going to be like we had the last tournament where it was like Kemba Walker and Miles Turner as the representing America.
I think the talent level will be closer to what it was in Rio in 2016 than whatever tournament you just referenced was a couple of years ago.
World Cup of Basketball, 2019.
Yes.
Moving to college, true or false, the NCAA tournament will be played to completion without teams dropping out like we saw with Duke and Kansas dropping out the conference tournament.
Ooh. I'll say true, because I think once they get inside the bubble, I don't see a team getting the virus. Like, I think the bubble will be secure enough where there won't be any positive tests that will eliminate a team. And plus, once you get into the bubble, you only need 5 healthy players to be able to participate. So if you're, let's say, Texas Tech, and you're in the tournament, and you have a player that tests positive, and then they do testing, and it's only 1 or 2 players. As long as they have 5 healthy guys, they're good to go. So I think once you make it to the bubble, which is next Friday, you're good to go. Now, our team's going to make it there. That's the big question. We shall see. But as you said earlier in the show, Sean, the NCAA will just make it up as they go along.
Exactly.
So they'll figure it out.
And by the way, only having 5 healthy players as the baseline is like an insane rule.
Oh, well, what if somebody gets hurt from the 5? Then you play like 5 on 4?
Or fouls out.
Yeah, 5 on 4, baby.
I mean, we saw Colin Sexton do that a few years ago. Come on. I'd say true as well. I think the NCAA will do whatever it takes to make this fly off.
They're getting this in. They're not going to stop until they complete this tournament. Too much money.
Yeah. Moving from the to the Big East tournament, true or false? If you were a security guard at Madison Square Garden, you would see the 7-foot-tall Jamaican man walking past you and ask him for an ID.
False. I would not. If I saw Patrick Ewing in Madison Square Garden, I would say, Patrick, let me bow down to your greatness, sir, and let me help you with anything you need. Move right along. See, the whole thing with this Ewing, Nick, MSG story, to me, I think he said what he said in a lot of like tongue-in-cheek there, and a lot of people took it very seriously. I didn't look at it that way. I think Patrick was just like messing around, and they had just won a big game, so he was all excited, and he didn't want to be accosted for his pass a bunch of times. What is funny though is like he's 7'2". Like, even if you don't know who Patrick Ewing is, don't you kind of think that the guy that's walking with all the Georgetown people is with the program and probably was a player or a coach? Like he's 7'2"
in a Georgetown jumpsuit, like for the Georgetown game. It's crazy.
Crazy. I mean, Patrick Ewing in MSG. I mean, that's his home. What are we doing here? Come on.
MSG must have the greatest security in the world.
Well,
it must be the safest place on the planet.
So I've covered some stuff at MSG before. And what's really funny is when you're there at MSG as a media member, you have your press pass. You got to go through all these different checkpoints just to get in. So one time I'm going through all these different checkpoints, and it's like to the 3rd checkpoint before you get up to like the press box area at the Garden. And the guy's like, press pass, please. And this is the 3rd, stop along the way to get there. And I said to the guy, don't you think if I was a bad guy, I wouldn't have made it this far? Like, don't you think if I didn't have the press pass, I wouldn't have been able to make it this far? Like made it through the other couple. Like, you really think now I don't have the right information to get in?
This is where my Ocean's 11 plot falls apart right now.
I'm like, what are we doing here? I mean, don't you think the chances are that if I wasn't supposed to be here, they would have found me by now?
Yeah. You're lucky to not have a Charles Oakley situation, I guess, with the MSG.
Yeah, I wasn't Oakley'd out of the garden that night, thankfully.
All right. True or false, moving to baseball. New play-by-play man Matt Vasgersian will get you to tune in to at least one Angels broadcast this season.
False, but I do like Matt Vasgersian. If there's an Angel game on and I flip it on and want to watch Trout taking that bat or Ohtani pitch, I'll watch the game. But I'm happy for Vasgersian. Very good broadcaster. Every time I watch Sunday Night Baseball, though, and hear him with A-Rod, I can't help but just think about growing up as a kid, playing MLB The Show on PlayStation, on my PSP. Remember the PSP?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Talk about a gaming console that was ahead of its time.
Yeah.
The PSP was legendary. So I used to play MLB like 07 The Show all the time, and Vasgersian was all over that game. Santa Maria!
Exactly.
Yeah!
You tweeted about, like, it takes you back to your childhood. I was thinking it takes me back to, like, this summer when I was playing it all. He's still the voice of MLB The Show.
No, look, Sean, I don't game much anymore, but you're a gamer, so I get it.
Yeah.
You're a gamer.
Oh, big gamer, especially during COVID.
Huge gamer, huge.
And last one, true or false, love is dead. J-Lo, A-Rod, reportedly on the outs.
Well, did you hear the update from this morning? According to people, what are we calling them? J-Rod?
J-Rod.
So A-Rod and J-Lo, they say they're still together despite the reports that they broke up, that they're working through some things. Both J-Lo and A-Rod tell TMZ all the reports are inaccurate. We're working through some things. Okay, maybe love is not dead. False. J-Rod, they're still together. They're still working it out.
I'm not buying it.
You think they're done?
I don't think it gets out that, like, multiple people reporting that they're breaking up, and then it's like, no, actually, we're gonna work some things out, and then happily ever after.
Maybe they'll figure it out. I don't know.
Don't. You know, I'm gonna say. I guess I'm gonna say true to this one because I don't want to believe that they're getting back together, only for them to then break up and break my heart again. I'm not breaking my heart twice about this.
That's fair. I will say this though: if they do break up, then Jennifer Lopez is just 2 rings away from tying Tom Brady. Just saying.
The GOAT?
The GOAT.
She's entered the GOAT. This
J-Lo trying to become the GOAT. 2 rings away if the relationship with A-Rod is over. 2 rings away. That wraps it up for True or False here on a Saturday Jake Asman Show. Plenty still to do. Mark Malusis from WFAN will be joining me in about 10 minutes. We'll talk about Deshaun Watson going to the Jets. Could it happen? We'll talk about that with Moose coming up. We're coming right back. Jake Asman with you here on a Saturday on Sports.